was 12 years old, my dad gave me my first camera, the Nikon FG film camera. And when I was 16, I had my first big break. Little league photographer. I'd be up at 6 a.m. literally every weekend shooting all the sports teams for a whopping $10 an hour. At 17, I joined the yearbook staff, and my image ended up making the cover of the yearbook. So for me, that was like the moment, right? No longer was I going to be a doctor, a lawyer, pediatrician, anything remotely predictable. I was going to embark on the adventure of a lifetime to become a professional photographer and director. At 18, I went off to college and majored in business. I figured out that I really need to know the business side of things in order to actually make a living doing this amazing, crazy career. And at 20, I applied for a study abroad program, and I went over to London and Prague to study with a world-renowned fashion photographer. So it was very interesting because I was the only Texan and the only Southerner in the program. So as you can imagine, I got a lot of funny questions from the other students, like did I ride a horse to school every day? For instance, how to line dance, and most of all, why did I not have big hair? So it was a very interesting experience, to say the least, and we had a blast. These are two of my very first fashion photographs I ever shot with a Nikon D70S camera, which was my very first digital camera, and the 50mm lens. Those are the only two pieces of equipment that I had when I started, and I've since grown my equipment list since then, so it's kind of interesting growing. So this was actually my very first actual big break. It was shooting for a TV show on HDNet, and I somehow lucked into this gig a couple of years out of college. I ended up meeting with a producer, and they needed a still photographer for the TV show. So basically I got to spend 4 crazy long, torturous years photographing swimsuit models in places like Ibiza, Spain, Miami, Puerto Rico, all over the world. So it was really, really a truly neat experience, and I really got to know the crew really well. One of the challenges of shooting both still and video on the same day is that you really have to light for video. So we weren't able to use a lot of strobes, we used a lot of HMI lights to create the beautiful ambient mood and make the stills and video look really great. So it was quite a challenge, and it was really where I got my feet wet in directing as well, because the cinematographer that was filming the girls during the photo shoot, he was a big burly guy. He's a little bit intimidating, and he noticed that I had a real connection with the models that we were shooting, so he ended up just telling me to direct the models, and he sort of stood back and just would film them as I was directing them. So it kind of got very organically into directing, and I really had a great connection with the girls that I was shooting. So it was really, really kind of a neat experience getting to direct and work with the show. We used a lot of natural light. This is shot with a reflector, super simple stuff, and ultimately I really try to bring out that real raw confidence out of my subjects. You can see the connection, they look very comfortable, and really just have a blast, because this industry is supposed to be fun, and if you're not having fun, then I think you're doing a little something wrong. It's just such a fun time. So here's a quick reel from some of my work from the show, and then we'll get into a little bit more about what I'm doing video-wise.